Good morning. Welcome to Chalice Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a community of diverse beliefs and experiences, nurturing the liberal religious spirit and united by our desire to grow in love and in service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your life's journey, you are welcome here. Whether you gather with us every Sunday, once or twice a year, or are with us this morning for the first time, we are glad you are here. I'm Reverend Sharon Wiley, Chalice's minister. Our worship musician this morning is Justin Gray. Our audiovisual team is David Ogwen and Dean Gadet. Welcome to this online worship service. Welcome to those of you watching live using Zoom Sunday morning. Welcome to those of you watching the recording of this service later on our YouTube channel. For those of us using Zoom, please notice on your menu that you have a button that says CC Live Transcript. This is Zoom's closed captioning service, and you can click on it to hide the subtitle or show the subtitle. You're in control if that is on or off on your screen. Also on your menu is the chat button. For those of you who like to use the chat box during the service, which many of us do, and you're welcome to do, please be sure that when you post that you've opened that little blue menu there to select everyone. We like to use the chat for everyone to talk together, and it's not always possible to communicate with our tech deck in particular during the service, so they may not see your message. So it's just the worship team here in the chapel. So all of you still at home, give yourself a hug of hello and welcome. If you share space with someone who consents to hugging, share a hug with them too. We look forward to being together and hugging or giving fist bumps or elbow bumps to each other here on our Chalice campus, hopefully soon. Finally, I want to especially welcome those of you who are newcomers at Chalice this morning. Towards the end of the service, there will be a link in the chat box for adding your name to our email list. Our weekly email is the best way to get information about the many groups and activities we offer, most of which are still happening using Zoom, but we hope we'll start to see transitions to hybrid meetings in person and online also. And of course, we hope to be able to be inviting people back onto campus Sunday morning soon. Now, let's take a breath together.
I'm Judy Cavallo.
I'm Steve Schlesinger.
And we live on land stolen from the Payam Quishim, now known as San Marcos.
My name is Dennis Brown, and I live on land stolen from the Payam Quishim, now known as Marietta.
My name is Dre Marsh, and I live on land stolen from the Kumeyaay and Payam Quishim, now known as Escondido.
My name is Jeff Harlig. I live on land stolen from the Payam Quishim. That area is now known as Vista.
I'm Debbie Street Idell. I live on land stolen from the Kumeyaay. It's now known as Scripps Ranch.
My name is Amaki Ayipa, and I live on land stolen from the Payam Quishim, now known as San Marcos.
The last time I stood at this pulpit on a Sunday morning was 2 years ago on February 23rd, 2020. My 2-week vacation started the next day, and when I came back, the pandemic was here. It is my great joy to light our chalice here this morning. May our chalice flame burn brightly, that all who are seeking may find us. Let's take a moment to take another breath together. The words of our call to worship, of course, are written to refer to serious and sobering events of the past week. And they can also refer to the last several minutes of the morning as well. Everything is falling apart, like compost, disintegrating, everything broken and failing, turning, transforming, our world rich with disintegration and possibility. Now is the time to dream of the garden. Now is the time to plant and plan for a new world, new growth, new ways of being. This hour, a germination, a time for new life to take hold of us so that we too are made new. We too are turned and transformed, nourished by song and story and music and dreams. Let us worship together. You're invited to join in singing.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the gut of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power in each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Our Sunday worship is the shared spiritual practice of our community, and we tend to the congregation during this time by sharing and honoring our joys and sorrows. If you'd like to share a joy or sorrow with the congregation this morning, now is the time for sharing in the chat box. If you'd like to send me a confidential note about your joy or sorrow, or to make a prayer request, please email me. My email address will be in the chat box. The Librarian of Basra, A True Story of Iraq by Jeanette Winter. This is a true story of what it's like to live in a city when there is war. Aliyah Muhammad Baker is the librarian of Basra, a port city in the sand-swept country of Iraq. Her library is a meeting place for all who love books. They discuss matters of the world and matters of the spirit. Until now. Now they talk only of war. Will planes with bombs fill the sky? Will bombs fall here? Will soldiers with guns fill the streets? Who among us will die? Will our families survive? What can we do? Aliyah worries that the fires of war will destroy the books, which are more precious to her than mountains of gold. The books are in every language, new books, ancient books, even a biography of Muhammad that is 700 years old. She asks the governor for permission to move them to a safe place. He refuses. So Aliyah takes matters into her own hands. Secretly, she brings books home every night, filling her car late after work. The whispers of war grow louder. Government offices are moved into the library. Soldiers with guns wait on the roof. Aliyah waits and fears the worst. Then, rumors become reality. War reaches Basra. The city is lit with a firestorm of bombs and gunfire. Aliyah watches as library workers, government workers, and soldiers abandon the library. Only Aliyah is left to protect the books. She calls over the library wall to her friend Anas Muhammad, who owns a restaurant on the other side. Can you help me save the books? I can use these curtains to wrap them. Here are crates from my shop. Can you use these sacks? The books must be saved. All through the night, Aliyah, Anas, his brothers, and shopkeepers and neighbors take the books from the library shelves, pass them over the 7-foot wall, and hide them in Anas's restaurant. The books stay hidden as the war rages on. Then, 9 days later, a fire burns the library to the ground. The next day, soldiers come to Anas's restaurant. Why do you have a gun? They ask. To protect my business, Anas replies. The soldiers leave without searching inside. They do not know that the whole of the library is in my restaurant, thinks Anas. At last, the beast of war moves on. Aliyah knows that if the books are to be safe, they must be moved again while the city is quiet. So she hires a truck to bring all 30,000 books to her house and to the houses of friends. In Aliyah's house, books are everywhere, filling floors and cupboards and windows, leaving barely enough room for anything else. Aliyah waits. She waits for war to end. She waits and dreams of peace. She waits and dreams of a new library. But until then, the books are safe, safe with the librarian of Basra. The end. That's the end of the story, but I want you to know that Aliyah saved an estimated 30,000 library books during the Iraq War. The library was rebuilt in 2004, and Aliyah was reinstated as the chief librarian. She retired from working in 2016.
Good morning, class. It's February. You know what that means. Black History Month.
A 4-week opportunity to plan a mini lesson on I Have a Dream.
Or that polite old lady who sat at the front of the bus. A Socratic seminar on Langston Hughes' contributions to the Harlem Renaissance. Don't have time to plan a lesson? Just throw on the movie Roots and you'll be good for a whole week.
30 days in the beginning of a white history year is all we get.
Like a pat on the back?
It is not our job
to teach you about Black history.
But since our courses only cover Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King,
We present How to Understand Black People for Dummies.
or
How we started from the bottom, now we're here. Step 1. Know some stuff our people have invented. Thank you, Marie Van Britton Brown, for creating the home security system you like to watch us on. Thank you, Alice Parker, for creating the furnace that has yet to melt the heart of the judge.
who sentenced Francis Hayden to life for selling marijuana.
While Stanford swimmer, white rapist, Brock Turner, got 6 months. Step 2. Understand the complexity of Black hair.
Please don't ask why I don't get my hair wet. And no, you can't touch it.
I want to remove the kinks and knots from my mind. Not my hair. Don't forget, not all Black girls wear weaves. Yes, this is my real hair.
No, I don't curl my hair every morning.
It's not my job to explain to you how my hair naturally falls into a twist. Step 3. We ain't all criminals. Wipe that look off your face, girl. I don't want to take your purse. I'm not trying to sell you drugs.
I will sell the idea that I'm not a
Rapist.
delinquent.
Or philanderer. Step 4. Our diet doesn't consist of fried chicken.
watermelon.
And Kool-Aid. I don't eat fried chicken because I'm Black. I eat it because it's goddamn delicious.
I drink Kool-Aid because I've got a sweet tooth.
I eat watermelon because it's the only healthy item in my local markets. It is not our job to educate you about our ancestors.
If you don't know what slavery is, then pick up a damn history book.
But not even those will tell you
How many days
we spent toiling in the dirt to build the White House we couldn't live in for 216 years. How many hours
we have to worry about being lynched for saying the wrong word.
being in the wrong area, or looking at the wrong woman. How many graves we had to dig with our bare hands. Understand that we make history every day just by surviving in this white man's country. The tides are beginning to turn. And some are beginning to realize.
The heart of racism is still alive and healthy.
Now we have guilt as white as spilled milk in puddles all over the nation.
But you want us to be the janitors and mop it up.
It is not our job to clean up the mess you left. It is not our job to comfort you as you come to terms with the atrocities of your ancestors.
It's time for you to acquaint yourself with the dirt.
Use your platform of power and preach the gospel of equality. Lock arms with us in a peaceful protest.
We fight for freedom and justice every day.
Simply by being ourselves. We are the ones living Black history. You see, simply by being
A filmmaker,
an orphan, a dancer, we are Black history. We are American history.
your only job
Is to join us.
Our story this morning, The Librarian of Basra, has been challenged in schools in Florida, Wyoming, and New York for its violent storyline, for promoting a religion that is not Christianity, and for being un-American and upsetting to families. At the heart of the wrestling over this particular story, I think, is the question of whose perspective gets told. The conventional wisdom is that history is written by the victors. It is subversive, transgressive, disturbing to hear a story about the impact of our own country's actions. We no longer live in a time when only the victors get to tell their stories. This wrestling over perspective is vitally alive today. We have all read stories, I assume, of tensions at school board meetings where arguments over something called critical race theory provide cover for the real agenda, which is to control whose perspective is centered in the teaching of history. The catalyst for this public debate was the 1619 Project, a long-form journalism endeavor developed by Nicole Hannah-Jones, writers from the New York Times and the New York Times Magazine. The project aims to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of the United States national narrative. The first publication of the project came out in August 2019. Project creator Nicole Hannah-Jones won the 2020 Pulitzer Prize for Commentary for her introductory essay to the project. In October 2020, New York University's Arthur L. Carter Journalism Institute named the 1619 Project one of the 10 greatest works of journalism in the decade of 2010 to 2019. It doesn't seem like it should be so radical. The project reframes the history of the United States by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of the United States national narrative. There are no words to adequately describe the horrors of enslaving people. And ours is a country that allowed slavery to exist until we fought a civil war over the issue, a war that some would argue now has never truly been resolved. It is a sign of our own determined self-delusion that we ever told the history of this country as though slavery was just an era that we got through and moved beyond. The history of African Americans is the history of the United States. It is clear, however, that hearing our history taught this way makes some people uncomfortable. And rather than sitting with their discomfort and using it as an incentive for self-reflection, they have instead advocated for a return to, I guess, a way of teaching history that makes them feel better. This issue has gone so far as to result in state legislation prohibiting making people feel uncomfortable. Florida is considering a bill with this wording. It is a principle of individual freedom that an individual should not be made to feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of his or her race. Let me repeat that. It is on its way to becoming a law in Florida that an individual should not be made to feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress on account of his or her race. I'm told that South Carolina is considering similar legislation. On the face of it, I could make an argument in support of this legislation. Of course, we shouldn't feel uncomfortable about our race. Race isn't even biological or genetic. The best use of this law would be for BIPOC people. BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. For BIPOC people to use it to sue anyone who makes them feel uncomfortable because of their race. But the conundrum, I think, is that many, many white people are uncomfortable just talking about race. A whole book has been written about it, White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo. If someone tells me slavery existed and they're talking about that fact makes me feel guilty, did they make me feel guilty? Or is that just my own spiritual, emotional work to do? If someone tells me racism happens and they're talking about that fact makes me feel guilty, did they make me feel guilty? Or is that just my own spiritual, emotional work to do? There are white people who feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, and other forms of psychological distress just hearing that BIPOC people have experienced racism. It is spiritual and emotional work for many people to get over their white fragility. That's the advice of trauma specialist Resma Menakem, you may recall. Just get over it. If you haven't read Robin DiAngelo's book, I highly recommend it. White fragility is a concept we should all be familiar with. Fortunately for us, we never have to worry that we're breaking the law by talking about things that might make someone uncomfortable, because we have freedom of religion. And UUs like being challenged by new ideas and new ways of thinking, and we kind of like feeling uncomfortable. So in the spirit of learning more about history, I wanted to take some time this morning to make sure we all know some of our UU history that can be difficult for us to face and acknowledge. My intention is not to make any of us feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress. My intention is just to make sure we all know these pieces of our denominational history. I hope you have at least heard of Indian schools and know there is a painful history in the United States of boarding schools and reservation schools for Native Americans. The Bureau of Indian Affairs ran 25 boarding schools on reservations. Churches received some government money for carrying out these missions. The purpose of the boarding schools was to educate Native American children according to European standards. The children had their long hair cut off. They were not allowed to wear traditional clothing. They were forbidden to follow traditional customs. They could not speak their native languages, and they were taught Christianity instead of the native religions. The Unitarians had one of these boarding schools for Native American children at the Crow Reservation in Montana. This school was called the Montana Industrial School for Indians, established in 1886. At the time the school was established, the Crow people were suffering from the loss of their land, being put on a reservation, the killing of the buffalo, starvation, and disease that killed many. The school was supported by an organization called the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel to the Native Americans and others. Fundraising was done in churches to support this work. Church members also provided donations of food and supplies. The school lasted from 1886 until 1895, when the US government stopped funding religious schools. Unitarians were also involved with the Ute tribe. Through President Grant's peace policy, 20 churches were asked to assign missionaries to be federal Indian agents. The American Unitarian Association was assigned to the Ute tribe, and over a period of 8 years, 4 Unitarian ministers worked with the Ute community. In 2009, at the General Assembly in Salt Lake City, leaders of the Unitarian Universalist Association offered an apology to members of the Ute tribe for the historical wrongs that were committed by our religious ancestors during this period. As UUs, we relish the ways in which we're progressive and take stands against injustice. But I think it's important to who we are today to know that there are times when we've gotten it wrong. Times that we've let our places of privilege keep us from understanding and supporting people we perceived to be different from us. Times that we confused our need to be right and to feel superior with a desire to educate and to be helpful. To be honest, I think there are still times like this today, times that we think we know what's best for people who are hurting, that we know what's best for people who are marginalized. Our work now really is to listen and to learn from people who are hurting, from people who are marginalized. Our work now, in many cases, is to be followers and supporters, not people who think it is always our place to lead the way. I hope we are learning to be humbler. I hope we are learning what we don't know. More of our history. As we have been discussing the proposed 8th principle, many of you are learning about what's been called the Black empowerment controversy in our denomination. Briefly, and you can and should read much more about this, in 1967, Black Unitarian Universalists formed a group called the Black Unitarian Universalist Caucus to provide support to Black UUs. The congregations of the UUA voted to give $1 million over 4 years to support the Black Unitarian Universalist Caucus. But that vote had no binding authority on the UUA. Subsequently, the UUA board did not approve that funding. They would have said it was a budgeting issue, a funding issue. But that was the beginning of over 10 years of struggle and controversy around the existence of and funding for Black caucus groups in our movement. It is estimated that over 1,000 African Americans left Unitarian Universalism during this time. Imagine what might have been happening in our denomination over the past 55 years if this schism had never occurred. Who might we be now if we had not failed our Black congregants then? This history is why it is a very big deal now that there is again a Black caucus group in our denomination called Black Lives of UU, BLUE, BLUU, and that the UUA has provided substantial financial support, contributing $5.3 million to that organization. Many of us hope that we now have the chance to do things better than we did over 50 years ago. I think one of the learnings from this piece of history is that BIPOC Unitarian Universalists need more support than most of our congregations can provide on their own. And that we have a collective responsibility to make sure that this support is available. For decades, white UUs have wondered why more BIPOC people don't come to UU congregations. I think instead we should have been asking, well, why should they come? Now, at last, I think there are some good answers to that question. In addition to enjoying the blessings of our congregational life, BIPOC people in the congregation can connect with other BIPOC Unitarian Universalists through organizations like BLUE, and BLUE is not the only caucus group, to feel a strengthened sense of community and support. We learn history to know ourselves better. We learn history to learn from successes and from mistakes. We learn history to understand what brought us to this moment in time, how we got here. And we learn history to recognize when we have a chance now to choose a new path forward and to try something different this time around. May each of us here be blessed with such choices and opportunities. May it be so. You're invited to join in singing.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
Today is our monthly Social Justice Sunday, when we donate our offering to a local organization or a denominational organization that makes a difference in our community. So this month, our offering supports Blue, the organization you just heard about, the Black Lives of UU Organizing Collective. Formed in 2015, the organization is committed to expanding the power and capacity of Black UUs within our faith, providing support, information, and resources for Black UUs, and justice making and liberation through our faith. I asked two of our congregants about their experiences with Blue. Christy Harlig shared that she has attended a couple of virtual gatherings. She says, connecting with Unitarian Universalists who looked like me and hearing their experiences and hopes for where they would like to see growth within this faith was an incredibly powerful experience. Amaki Ayikba wrote, I am particularly impressed by the vision statement of Blue. The detailed expectation they have of their members is well reasoned and can be of benefit to other organizations. The goal is to harness love's power to combat oppression and foster healing. It accepts that the power of love is life-changing. Their work includes dismantling white supremacy as they strive to build a new way of liberation. Please text your donation to Chalice. If you haven't texted a donation before, know that once you text the amount, you'll get a reply with a link to follow to enter your credit card information. And after you've done that once, you won't need to enter it again if you happen to make subsequent donations. If your Sunday donation is meant to be part of your pledge payment, please be sure to indicate the word pledge after the dollar amount. And also know that you can make a text donation anytime, doesn't just need to be during the worship hour, but we do understand that text donations made at this time are for this special offering. The phone number will be on screen in a moment, and I'll also put it, or the chat host will put it in the chat box. Please give generously. Please join in dedicating our offering with words of affirmation. Open hearts, open minds, open doors, nurturing spirits, seeking justice within the wider world. This is our mission.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
Will you join me in prayer? The words of our prayer come from Reverend Charlotte Arsenault. O great and abiding love, love that holds us, that draws us near when we are afraid, like a parent draws a child close after a nightmare. We gather our voices as we call out to you with nightmares that will not cease upon our waking. We wonder, where are you? When bombs and bullets bring suffering swiftly to so many Ukrainian innocents, where are you? When the egos of world leaders blot your face from our minds, where are you? When hatred and bigotry crush the spirits of our queer beloveds before they have time to even taste the freedom of authenticity, where are you? when fear of the unknown becomes fear of one another. Where are you? Perhaps if we can quiet the raging storm of our hearts, perhaps then we can hear you. A faint echo at first, and then louder and clearer, your voice comes to us saying, "Here I am. I am the building that did not crumble. Here I am. I am the voice of the Russian people who demand peace from their leader. Here I am. I am each church and synagogue and temple that opens its doors to all without judgment or condemnation. Here I am. I am the librarian purchasing banned books for your children. Here I am. I am everywhere that justice and peace and beauty reigns. I am also everywhere that oppression, war, and ugliness remains. You need only to come and find me, and I am there. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. You're invited again to join in singing.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we're there, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we're there, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 yeah.
Before we close the service, I'd like to remind newcomers to please use the link in the chat box to add your name to our email list. Our closing words come from the Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Love and blessings to each of you. Blessed be. You're invited to close our time together by singing the well, and then please stay put. We have a few announcements, and after the announcements, everyone is invited to coffee hour. So I have a few announcements. So most importantly, I hope you all know we have a workshop today on Zoom from 1 to 4:30 with Paula Cole-Jones, doing some communal work together and reflecting on what the 8th principle might mean to us. I know that sounds like a long meeting. Keep in mind there's a half an hour break and that there's a significant amount of time spent in small group discussion. So in breakout rooms, this is a wonderful chance for us to be together and be connecting. So I really hope that you'll make time to be there. I wish I could tell you for certain that we'll have people back in the chapel with us next Sunday. I don't have the ability to say that. Coordinating team will be meeting Wednesday afternoon to make that decision. So I think you can expect an email on Thursday, hopefully Thursday morning, because if we're making a different decision, I think we need to tell you about that too and how we came to that. But don't assume that if we are going to have people here, that means just show up. We're limiting capacity in the chapel, so you'll need to make a reservation ahead of time if that comes around. So I need people to help with that, to help figuring out Sunday morning, making reservations in advance and spacing people in the room and how we check people in when they get here. I don't have the bandwidth for that. So if you do and are excited to be back in person and would like to help with that, please let me know. I would love to put together a team of 3 or so people to help figure that piece out. And now a word about our auction.
Hi everyone, it's Barry Hacker, and guess what? Our auction is here for 2022. We're online once again till this pandemic is through. It's our biggest fundraising event of the year, and you don't need a mask to participate here. We've got some fabulous things that you can bid on, and I'll bet you find something before it's all said and done. There's parties and dinners and treasures galore. There's gourmet and services for you to explore. Youth bidding bucks is something brand new. The auction website explains just what to do. The opportunity drawing puts cash in your pocket, and the auction website will tell you how to unlock it. This year may have driven you all slightly crazy. It's hit me the same, but I won't let it faze me. We can all use a little excitement and fun, so check out our auction before it's over and gone. If we all come together and make a grand showing and fill up our coffers to keep Chalice going, it'll help us be set for the year that's ahead and keep us in the black and not in the red. You may think to yourself that you don't need to bid, but imagine how good you'd feel if you did, just knowing that you've done your little part by showing the love that you have in your heart. If you're vaxxed and you're boosted, I guess that's a plus, but you don't need either one, although that's not saying much. So let's begin our auction, come one and come all. And let's all hope this pandemic is gone by the fall. The next year auction can be face-to-face in our Chalice Chapel. Do you remember that place where we all met in person and shared a few hugs and were free of the COVID-19 virus bug? So relax and get ready. We're about to begin. For you and for Chalice, it'll be a win-win. Bidding online occurs in a flash as Chalice rakes in all of your cold hard cash. Enough of my gibberish, my prattle and gabble. Enough of my rhymes and my silly babble. It's time that we start what we're here to do. Our grand Chalice auction for 2022. From February 27th all through March 6th, that's when you can get your auction fix. I'll give you the website because my job is through. It's charityauction.bid/chalice UU. Go online and bid today. And thanks everyone.